Hey everybody, this is Lonnie Sweet from the Sweet Management Group, and you are either listening to or watching the Never Sell Ice to Eskimos podcast, where we talk to sales executives from the culinary, sports, general business, and entertainment worlds about their journey, about being a salesperson in this industry and what it took to get to where they are today. So whether you're listening in your earbuds, you're sitting in front of your computer, I appreciate you stopping by and hope you enjoy. All right. This is Lonnie Sweet, the CEO of Sweet Management Group, formerly the Connect Group. We are on this Never Sell Ice to Eskimos podcast with one of my really good friends who's been a friend for 20 plus years, Lowell Taub. Lowell, and I don't like to pump up his head more than it already is, but I think in my 20 plus career of selling, he's oddly enough one of the best I've ever come across. And so he's got a different style. He's got a good personality. He's got some great clients. He is now the CEO of Stoke Management Group, the beautiful hat that he's wearing that he has not sent me one yet. I was breaking his balls a little bit about not sending me one. Lowell and I worked together at SFX literally 20 years ago. He is now, like I said, the CEO of Stoke. He was formerly at CAA. He is a player, talent, agent, amazing clients over the years. Nyjah Houston, Chloe Kim right now, a whole bunch of action sports, a whole bunch of Summer Olympians, Bodie Miller. What's up, dude? Did I do a good job?
How's it going? Yeah, I just realized, as you said it, Sweet Management Group and Stoked Management Group were both SMGs.
They are both SMGs. So you don't go by SMG though, do you? Because I'm gonna have to.
I mostly go by Stoked. Like the full name is Stoked Management Group, but we kind of say, hey, your client is Stoked, and so we kind of abbreviate it down to Stoked.
So I was gonna go with a Sweet Agency, and the reason I was gonna go with a Sweet Agency is when I wanted the client to be like, hey, who are you represented by? They wanted them to say, oh, I'm represented by a Sweet Agency. Like, oh, that's a dope agency or something like that.
You picked the right way.
Yeah, I think Sweet, it was a little bit too cheesy. It's too cheesy. Anyway, but I appreciate you. Before we kind of get into a little bit back and forth, can you just do a quick little 2 minutes, a little bit more on kind of your career path, what you're doing today, and maybe end it off with like, how did you get into sales and kind of what do you love about what you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to run through how I got here. So I finished Cornell in '96. I thought I wanted to be a sportscaster, so I had my own public access show, Sports World with Lowell Taub on Channel 13.
I would love nothing more in the world to listen to that right now.
There are VHS tapes. VHS tapes exist. I got to digitize those actually. So I finished college. And my first job was representing sportscasters. And honestly, in my 22-year-old mind, I was like, oh, well, I'll meet everyone at ESPN and I'll tell them what I really want is to be a sportscaster and they'll give me a job. And, I never in my mind's eye did I want to be an agent. Like it just kind of didn't cross my mind. I wanted to be talent, which is kind of ironic now. But I love talking about sports and, so I did that job for about 2 years, from '96 to '98, with a guy who's still a mentor and a friend in my life, Steve Hers at IF Management.
Great guy.
And I learned a couple things. First of all, to be an entry-level sportscaster, you kind of had to go to the middle of nowhere and make very, very little money for a number of years and kind of bounce around from a small market TV station in Iowa to a small market TV station in Louisiana. And I didn't really want to leave the city. I was having fun in Manhattan. All my friends were in Manhattan. And I kind of realized that I had a decent knack for representing people and the art of the deal and speaking, on people's behalf. And it was fun. I remember very vividly this one guy, I think he was working in Savannah, Georgia and making 30 grand. And we moved him to Santa Fe, New Mexico for 85 grand. He called crying how he changed his life. And it was just a very gratifying feeling to close deals and make people money. That said, after I did that job for 2 years, that job was very monotonous in that job back then, you shoved a VHS tape in an envelope, you sent it out to a news director, you sat at your desk and you waited to see if that news director thought your client was good enough. So I got very lucky.
Old school selling, by the way. Those back in the day were like, we had Russ on last week, and I remember Russ vividly when I started, like, phone and fax, or mail and fax. You would mail it, and then you have to fax it. So, like, old school days.
Yeah. Well, people who are going to watch this don't even know what VHS tapes are. So I came home one day, when I was burnt out on that job, and Mike Levine, Vino, a big titan in the sports industry, who's now the co-head of CAA Sports. He was a senior at Cornell when I was a freshman. So in 98, now I'm 24 and he's 27, and he's killing it at what was called the Marquee Group. And he gave me a shot at entry-level athlete marketing. So I actually took a pay cut. And rather than try to get, a sportscaster a job at ESPN, now I was trying to get athletes their Gatorade deal, their Nike deal, their Visa deal, however they can make money off the field. And that just suited me really well. I loved SFX, or excuse me. So the Marquee Group was acquired a year later by a company called SFX Sports. A guy named Bob Sillerman, a billionaire, rolled up a number of sports agencies: David Falk's agency, Arn Tellum's agency, the Hendricks Brothers agency, the Marquee Group, ProServe, and probably 3 or 4 or 5 others. And that's where you and I met, Lonnie. So I was at SFX. Yep, I was at SFX from 98 to 05. Really, the job wasn't all that different in 98 as it is today. I mean, maybe I'm more senior at it and I'm more experienced at it. And then I was doing $5,000 deals, and now I'm trying to do $5 million deals. But at the end of the day, I was trying to find brands to pay athletes money to endorse their brand and their products. So had a great run at SFX, promoted a number of times. SFX kind of fell apart in 05. It went live when Clear Channel spun off what is today called Live Nation, the big, ticketing entity. They kind of stepped away from their sports group. And there was a very rare moment in time where in 2005, I'm 31 years old. And they said, hey, if you want to do this, you can have this business. Take all of your 11 clients, take most of the revenue, and you can go do it yourself. So I'm 31 years old, and I opened GFHF Marketing and Management, one of the all-time great company names in the history of the industry that
what did it stand for again?
All of my friends still make fun of me for and don't know the order of the initials. But it's Bodie Miller had written a book called Be Good, Go Fast, and Have Fun, like as a life mantra. And I took the Go Fast and Have Fun and made it GFHF. Really ahead of my time in naming companies.
Terrible.
It would not have fit as well on a hat.
Go
fast, have fun.
I was just looking at your bio, and I was looking at your bio before we got on here, and I saw that, and it made me laugh, actually.
Yeah. So from 05 to 07, from the age of 31 to 33, I had my own boutique sports marketing agency. I often kind of say, I didn't even know what I didn't know, but I was young and self-confident, and I had a revenue stream, and it was a pay raise, even being on my own and calling my own shots. And had a guy named Tom Yaps working for me, who's now, one of the most reputable action sports agents in the business at Evolution.
Yep.
Then I had Zach Nadler working for me, who's now over at Vayner Sports, running their speakers division. And then, kind of giving everyone listening to us, a little bit about the way, everything connects and never burn a bridge. Well, I'll tell you 2 things. So when I had that company, I rented office space from my first boss, Steve Hers. So the guy that I quit on in 98, rolled out the red carpet and let me sublet office space from him from 05 to 07, which was fantastically generous.
Corner of 53rd and 7th. Yep, I remember it.
I think we were at right. Right near Carnegie Deli. Yep. But then also in terms of connectivity, Mike Levine, who was the guy in the story who had hired me in 98. So now it's 07. I'm 33. Vino's 36, which is crazy to say out loud how young we were. But CAA had just handed Vino the keys to their sports department, him and Howie Newchow, these 2 36-year-olds, and said, we want to bet on you young bucks to build us a $1 billion, sports agency, with the power of the CAA initials and brand. and checkbook. And Vino and I had a breakfast that wasn't even a breakfast for me to get a job. I was very happy running my own agency at 33. But Vino, who's an excellent salesman, kind of said, "Yeah, you have a cute little thing over there. Like you're gonna roll that into this. Like you're done with that,
Right.
And I actually said no. I said and he came back with a second offer, which was not very much stronger than the first offer, but he's very persuasive. And to be fair to Vino, I wanted to hitch my wagon to his star. Like I knew Vino was an absolute, stud in the industry, and he will go down as one of the greatest all-time sports marketing agents and executives in the history of our industry. And then I spent 13 years there, with Vino and Howie Newchow and Paul Danforth and Lloyd Fisher and everybody else. And so I was there from 07 to 20. Leading the sports endorsements division. So again, same job as since 98, getting your shampoo deal and your car deal and your credit card deal and your headphone deal and your shoe deal. CAA had an incredible roster of clients. While I was there, it's Derek Jeter in baseball, and it's Sidney Crosby in hockey, and it's Cristiano Ronaldo in soccer, and it's Novak Djokovic in tennis, and I was Shaun White's personal agent from 2010 to 2017. And whereas I really came in as the guy who was trying to lead all of the sports endorsements, as I look back and tell the story now, when I signed Shaun White in 2010, he was such a planet with a gravitational pull and took so much of my time that I really started to riff off of that and focus on this action sports and individual sports and Olympic world.
Right.
So Shaun White opened the door to Nyjah Houston, who's the best skateboarder in the world, and opened the door to Chloe Kim, who's now the new Shaun White and the best snowboarder in the world. For better or for worse, I represented Patrick Reed for 2 years from 2016 to 18, which is its own podcast. But I was there for the green jacket as kind of a career accomplishment. And as a golf, you see, I'm in my Masters shirt. So I'm a golf nerd. And to represent the Masters champion in April of 2018 and to get that hug on national television on the 18th green was, a career highlight. And then pandemic came along, and look, I would not change my 13 years at CAA for the world. I had an amazing time. I have these two kind of alumni families, right? My SFX family, which you're a part of, Lonnie, and we have 25 friends that we bump into around the industry, that we still are happy to see. And then I had a 13-year-long CAA family with 50 friends, that I still am in touch with. But I approached management and said, look, coming out of pandemic, you're going to have to, focus on your bigger businesses, your football business, your basketball business, your property sales, your corporate consulting. And I will sing Vino and Paul and Howie's praises, and this is a rare kind of reverse Jerry Maguire, who's coming with me goldfish moment, where I made them a proposal on a Monday, and 11 days later, on the following Friday, I had an executed separation agreement, no bloodshed, no lawsuits. And they handed me, 18 clients, and Stoked Management Group was born overnight on August 15th of 2020 during the pandemic, where I took my entire client roster. And I will say, and it's a humbling moment, and also, I guess, a little bit, self-confident moment. I mean, they always talk about, is it the agent or the agency? And the fact that Chloe Kim and Nyjah and John Florence, the best surfer in the world, and Sky Brown, who at the time was an 11-year-old prodigy, and I'm hoping, becomes the next, if your generational talent was Tony Hawk and then Shaun White, right. And I'm hoping Sky Brown is that next, the fact that all of these 18 people said, yeah, Lowell, Taub, you in your basement, that's who I want representing me, rather than this incredible. And again, I'm not saying a single ill word about CAA, but this multi-billion-dollar biggest agency on the planet. And it was very, very humbling and flattering that I was 18 for 18 too. I did not have a single client that I wanted to say no. So yeah, we're coming up on, I guess I'm 2 months shy of 2 years. Our 2-year birthday or anniversary is August 15th. And So it's everyone we mentioned. I guess a couple of the ones that we haven't mentioned, I represent a handful of Peloton talent: Kendall Toole, Maddie Majacomo, Kirsten Ferguson, DeBrickashaw's ex-wife, who's the face of their treadmill. And then, like you said, a bunch of legends, Gabby Douglas, Sonia Richards-Ross, and Bodie, and Julia Mancuso, and Ashley Wagner, and Cullen Jones, and Summer Sanders, and Josh Giddey. I represent the Oklahoma City Thunder NBA player who was the number 6 overall pick last year from an Australian kid. Gabby Thomas as a Harvard 2-time Olympic medalist from Tokyo last summer, a Harvard grad, beautiful young woman who, could be one of the faces of the 24 Paris Olympics. And Croy, we're in the NIL business as well. So we have Emma Wyant, who is just finished her sophomore year at University of Virginia. She's already an Olympic medalist in swimming. And we just signed Croy Bethune, who's going to lead the USC women's soccer team here as a captain in her senior year, and then hopefully on to the NWSL draft and on to the national team. So I think you asked for 2 minutes. That was probably 10. So that's about as short-winded as I can do it.
So this isn't necessarily a sales question, but it kind of is along the same way, right? So I know Julia and Bodie and Summer, these clients you've had for a really long time. What do you attribute to them sticking with you for so long, right? Bodie's been a client for 20 plus years. He was the greatest, maybe arguably one of the greatest skiers ever. And I know you guys have a very personal relationship, but I don't think it's fair just to say, well, you guys are great friends. You became great friends, right? You didn't start off as great friends. You grew into this really awesome relationship. What is it that you think you're doing that you're able to build these such good relationships with these clients? And by the way, I would say all of the people that we've worked with, right, whether it's Russ or Raskin or all, it's something that I think we're all really good at, to be honest with you. I'm curious about what it is you think that we're doing that allows that to happen.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple answers. Now, I'll try to be really, really honest and really, really self-aware. First of all, I'm an only child. So as I talk to my wife, I've always acquired friends and relationships my whole life. I'm one of those weirdos that has my high school friends, my college friends, my summer camp friends, my suburbs friends, my SFX friends, my CAA friends. I have because I don't have any siblings. So I love having lots and lots of friends and different friend groups. So one, I feel like I'm good at forming relationships with people. What I will say, what I have learned, and this is the honest part, at the end of the day, if I'm not making them money, this is the really, really honest part for your audience. Yes, I call everyone at Stoked family, right? The Stoked family, and I consider, for our listeners here, two of the people we've rattled off, I've actually literally introduced them to their spouses. So Bodie Miller is married to a former Pro Beach volleyball player client of mine, Morgan Beck, and Summer Sanders is married to a former ski racer client of mine, Eric Schlopey, and that's just who I am. I like connecting dots of people, and I like mashing up different friend groups. But what I will say, and what I confide in my wife about, who's my real consigliere, is now those people have all been in my life 20 years, but really we do perform a service. And sometimes 100%. if you're not performing, they have an accountant and they have a dentist and they have an electrician and they have all these people in their lives, and we're not family. So I would say, what I guess I'm saying is, I think the reason that things have gone so well is the mix of, I make them a lot of money, I do it with integrity, and then I invest in the relationship. Whether it's, when we were younger, literally I like working out with my clients. I like golfing with my clients. I like going to dinners with my clients. I travel with my clients. And anyone listening, and we often say, a sports agent, if you get it right, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. You really do, what I always tell, I remember Steve Hers, my first mentor, my first boss, this job, you have to take it home with you. It doesn't turn off at 5 or 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's a 24/7 thing. And so I think answering your question is a mix of hopefully I'm decent at relationship forming. Hopefully I'm decent at making the money. I know I'm good at integrity and honesty. And then, yeah, it's just the magic of those kind of elements added up.
Right.
But I really do invest in relationships. Like I go again to the Jerry Maguire scene, right? Where like Bob Sugar tries to hug that quarter,
Yeah.
the Cuba Gooding Jr. character, and like they love each other and they want to hug after a win, and not every agent's like that. They don't all have that gene, and sometimes it can be a business strategy. And even I'll say some other agencies are just in the volume game. They know they're going to get fired. They know there's going to be clients coming in and out. And like you said, I mean, Bodie's 20 years, Summer's 24 years, Julia's 20 years, Gabby Douglas is 10 years, Chloe is 8 years. And
Long time.
so every new client I sign, I hope that their family that way as well.
How do you teach that? One of the things I talked about with Russ, on our podcast I had with him last week, I think we were brought into this world at SFX, at least I was, where it was like, here's a phone book, here's your client list, go figure it out. I've always found that as I've evolved as an agency owner, trying to bring people underneath me and trying to teach other salespeople, how do you teach that? Like, is it teachable? Is it something that's innate? Like, I'm having a hard time with that, right? Like understanding how do you teach what you just said? Can you?
So, great question. I'd say firstly by example. So I treat my 3 employees, and actually my 4th just started. He's in California, so it'll be more difficult. I treat them the exact same way. I treat them like I'm an arms wide open, like I love you until you give me a reason not to type of guy.
Right.
So we're on a text string all the time, which I'm sure they side text and roll their eyes. But Lowell's writing them a random idea, like who got in touch with this mattress company at 10 o'clock, or, on Saturday, is anyone watching Cornell lacrosse in the, Final Four? Like I treat them the same way, like they're family, right. And I love them. And you see kind of a consistent level of communication. You see the integrity, you see the honesty. You see the results where hopefully, I give them commissions or bonuses or raises, like a little bit. I treat them the same way. That's just the way that I'm wired. And yes, so again, for all the people who are going to watch and listen to us, there is this thing now of this Gen Z and walking on eggshells about holding them accountable to excellence and giving them constructive criticism without them looking for a new job the next day. Or, I remember I've told this story several times way back in 98 when I was, just starting with Steve Hers at this, it was a 2-person agency, the 30-year-old boss and me.
Right.
And I'm this cocky Ivy League kid, and I wanted to work from 9 to 5 and party. Like, I'm 22 in New York City. And he once said to me, month 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere early, like he said to me, you know what? Like I can get any bum off the street to give me the level of effort that you're giving me. Like there are 100 people out there who want this job. And he was the first person who said, you have to take this job home with you. I've bet my whole life on this job. I'm 30 years old. I need you in it 100% of me, if not more, like, or you're not the right guy.
Right.
Now, there's 2 ways to react to that. Fuck this guy. I'm out of here.
Then you weren't right for the job.
Or to like, the way my personality is, finally, I had been a bare minimum guy my whole life. Meaning I knew I kind of had a good memory so I could get through school and I got A's instead of A pluses, and I got into Cornell and didn't really work hard at Cornell, and then got this job handed to me. And finally somebody said like, hey, like this isn't how you get through life at B minus B, B plus, A minus effort. You fucking like, if you're going to excel in life, you have to come with your maximum effort. And that changed my life. That day that he said any bum off the street could do better than I could. But my point is, if I said that same thing to a 23-year-old now, I don't know, with this, what we talk about, the participation trophy generation and the
Let
hurt
me ask you though,
feelings.
if they
And
walked out,
I don't, yeah.
if they reacted bad to that statement and walked out, well, then they're not right. In my mind, they're not right.
Yes, right. Everyone, look, everyone likes to be liked. I wouldn't want anyone to walk out and be like, that guy's a jerk. But, hell, I'm 48 now. I got to be comfortable in my own skin. And here's what I know. Here's what also makes me feel good, Lonnie. So at CAA, I think it's fair to say that I had a reputation of being a tough boss. Like there's you get an assistant there who's on your desk and you train them for 2 or 3 years. I think it's fair to say that I'm more difficult than my best buddy Lloyd Fisher is, who's a happy-go-lucky guy. I'm just more intense during the work hours.
You're a stranger, dude.
But every one of those assistants, every one of them is in my life today.
Right.
One of them came to work for me. So I helped him get a job at UEG as a talent buyer because he hit a glass ceiling at CAA. He left UEG for a pay cut to work for me personally and my 3-month-old agency, but Tommy Barnett, I was at his wedding, and Liz Moss is one of my dearest friends, and Mina Coate at the USOPC is a friend, and Kosi Egbuda, at Sony. So I think they all look back and be like I feel of Steve. When I tell the story of Steve said to me, any bum off the street, can you bet? I think they look back and say, he was always rational and level-headed, and he wasn't a screamer and a cursor. He just expected excellence. He wanted excellence from himself, and he wanted excellence from us. So this is you asked me like how do we train our people to be as good at as hopefully we are and maintain these relationships? And I think it's by being very fair, but expecting excellence and holding them accountable. And look, I'll say, without saying any of my 3, I've had 3 employees now for a various amount of time, up to 22 months. It's been a bumpy road. Like they weren't all, but, I think all 3 of them have really found their lane and have really gotten their feet under them and have really just seen like, oh, he's a psycho and he was working all the time, but he's fair. He's not a loony bin who's flying off the handle or making like, everything has a clear line of sight of, me being a rational person demanding excellence from them, because that's what our clients deserve. And that's what I want Stoked Management to stand for, being best in class at what we do and doing it with integrity, rather than, what you and me and our generation worries that this whole Gen Z just kind of phoning it in and always looking for the next job. And and life happiness is so important that like maybe the job would stop at 5:30 every day. And yeah, that's just not the nature of Stoked Management Group.
Yeah, I think there's so much to unravel there. We don't have enough time, right? I think the idea that you got a lot of these younger kids that are not working in an environment like we worked in. I feel very fortunate and grateful to have worked in the environments that I have worked in. That ISI office, right? The SFX office, right? The IMG office, being able to be around people that were different than me, just to be able to walk out of my office and down the hall and spend time with Worcester or Peter Levy or Sam Budo or Michael Brown or whoever it may be in our office, whether it's you or Raskin or anybody, whoever is, Lloyd and Jimmy Murray and all those guys, to be able to spend time with them and just be able to either get away from it, throw the football in the hallway, talk about ideas. I'm super grateful for it, right?
You threw a tight spiral, man. Yeah, that's a tight spiral.
I still do, by the way. If I'm being honest, I have it right here still, right? So I'm still got the ball. So we don't have a ton of time left. I'm curious, kind of, if you were to give a handful of advice, a couple tips to either young kids or people that are looking for their lane. One of the things I've been trying to figure out for a really long time, and I think I'm now getting to the point where I'm really comfortable in it. I really believe that everybody has certain sales style. I think for a long time, I tried to really, truly emulate other people and learn from them. And I forced myself to be certain things, right? I am very much a hard sales guy. Always have been. That's my
I'm not.
Right? But I've been in rooms where some of the best people I've ever sold with are not. And I always tried to be like, well, why can't I be more like that? Why can't I be more like that? What I realized is that, like, I can take pieces of what they do and I can learn from them, but I need to figure out my own style. like the way that makes me the best version of myself to go sell. It's never going to be a soft sales guy. I've done better listening, and I've done better not shoving shit down people's throats, and I've done better being a solutions provider, but I'm still a hard sales guy. So I guess my question to you is like, how did you figure out your style? And like, what's a couple pieces of advice you would give for young kids or people along the trail just to kind of, help them in their journey?
Yeah, I mean, look, I try at 48 years old to be self-aware, and you can, break my balls and even tell everyone what my sales style is, because like, look, I will say, I will give a compliment to Paul Danforth, the head of sponsorship sales at CAA Sports, who I think is one of the all-time greats.
Agreed.
That Paul, all about the relationship, and it could be the second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh meeting, and the seventh time you're out for drinks, and it might take 18 months before he ever gets $1 from. And look, sponsorship sales is a little different than athlete sales, and some, ours is more transactional, rapid. His is much bigger numbers. But the point is, like, style is, I'm going to become. I'll just kind of become best friend, everyone's best buddy. And then at some point it will make sense. He'll have something great to sell them, and they've become buddies in the trenches, and they'll figure it out. And he's fair and smart and fun. I mean, gosh, my style, I in my mind, I try to be that. I'm trying to be friends first or friends second. I love a party as much as any guy, and so many of my buyers I've had epic nights with at Olympics and X Games and NBA All-Stars and ESPY Awards and in the city as we were growing up. I guess, I still have something. I'm still trying to close business. I'm trying to close deals. I'm trying to get my clients new deals and new money. I don't know. I think if you asked all of the people that transact with me, it'd be a mix of he's got a great client list. So anytime we call him, we know he's going to have a great option. He's not going to have a B minus, C plus. And I think they probably also respect that. I guess what I'm saying is I've now done some talent buying at Stoke Management Group. We also have a talent advisory practice. So I represent 5 brands. So now I'm getting to transact on the buy side with my competitors. So to see some of them,
they're not as good as you think they are.
Well,
over the years.
some of them are horrible. I mean, to see some of the mistakes made in terms of pricing somebody at 175,000 that should be 75,000. So just right away you're turned off, and they're wasting. Or the thing that I always scratch my head the most about is I'll send an email being like, I am trying to give you and your client money, and they won't respond for 2 weeks. And I'm like, what? So I think the buyers would be like, look, he's a nut job in terms of he's so detail oriented, and he writes emails with 17 bullet points in them, but he's smart and he's fair and he's got integrity and he's not going to fuck us over. His clients are going to do what they say they're going to, right? That's the other thing. I hold my clients accountable, right? 100%. There are agents that they do a deal for, and you owe 10 social media posts, and 11 months go by and the client's done 2 social media posts, and the brand complains. They're like, they throw up their hand. Like, I think that brands know they're going to get the deliverables that they're due, that things are going to run smoothly. I mean, these are the ways that you get repeat business. I don't know what my style is. I mean, I like to think that I get 98 cents of every dollar that a brand is willing to spend. And at least they don't have to spend 100 cents or 101 cents. And if they spend 95 or 96 or 97 cents with me, it's worth it because the talent is going to be awesome, and they're going to get what they paid for. And there's going to, and their emails and their phone calls are going to be returned. That's the other thing that I mean, anyone who knows me knows I live on my iPhone, and I will constantly get emails back from people. Thank you so much for your rapid response. So when you just know that your competitors don't respond and then you literally scratch your head and say, like, what are you spending your working hours on if it's not trying to get deals done? Like, are you golfing? Are you traveling with your clients? Are you reading a book? Like, what is taking up your time that the email that comes in that says, I have a deal for you, is not the one that you're going to respond to within 24 hours. But
I actually have a tendency to respond too quickly. And
me too.
I've actually now said, like, let me pause a beat. Give me like well, not 10 minutes, but like a couple hours and then respond because, and by the way, well, I think that's because I always tell people all the time, I'm a deal junkie. I fucking love doing deals. I love it. I get energy on it. The
Right.
reason why I think it
the
let me,
art of the
yeah,
deal is our thing. Like, we aren't going to win a championship in anything.
right.
We aren't going to stand on the top of a podium. We're not going to get a ring. Our winning is ringing the cash register and doing great deals and being able to call the client, be like, dude, I just got you $5 million, from blah, blah, blah brand, and like crying, or like, just like, I have a client that was making $50,000 from a brand, and in the renewal, their average annual value would be $450, and they don't even believe it, on the phone. And that's right. That's how we keep score. And that's, I agree with you. Like Deal Junkie, you said, like the art of the deal and getting shit done. That is our adrenaline. That is our daily winning. We're not going to win 162 baseball games or an Olympic medal. We're going to get little singles and doubles and triples and home runs on closure.
I did win my old man softball league last year, so you can hold back the winning. That was a pivotal component of my old man softball league. All right, listen,
I wanted to one
you.
more thing, Lonnie, because you asked me for advice.
Yeah.
The biggest advice when I answered this question, the biggest advice, when people say, "What would you tell your younger self?" The biggest advice I'd give my younger self is that the brands are my clients also. So, and what I mean by that is Shaun White's going to come and go in my life, and Novak Djokovic is going to come and go, and any athlete might come and go. And like we've said, I'm lucky enough that I have a lot that have been in my life. Gatorade's not going anywhere. Red Bull's not going anywhere. Nike's not going anywhere. These brands. So when I was 28, let's call it 25 to 35, I loved having the moral high ground and the contractual high ground of like, you're right and I'm wrong.
Yep.
You didn't do that. Like, you didn't let me approve that ad, or you're 17 days late on a payment, or blah, blah, blah. You're in breach of contract. And like, I wanted to win that argument, and like now it's so easy to realize, like, unless the client is personally invested in being upset and saying, hey, you got to defend me here, or where's my money, or that ad went out and I'm rip shit pissed about it, then score the points of being the nice guy that is aware that they fucked something up, and you can acknowledge it and let them owe you one, and let them be like, gosh, like, we put out a big print ad that without blah, blah, blah athlete's permission, and he was really cool about that, and I want to do more business with that guy, is the biggest thing I'd tell myself. Like, I just wanted to win arguments, and I wanted to be right. And I think I was kind of trained of, your job is to protect the client's interests to the end of the earth. But somebody should have trained me also to say, when the client cares, like, you don't need to do it just in a vacuum of protecting the client because something erroneous happened. Protect the client if they care. So that would be the biggest advice that I would give my younger self. Like, nurture your brand side relationships and your agency side relationships as much as you're nurturing your talent relationships.
I think it's about winning wins, right? Everybody always says, let's do a win-win partnership. The reality is most people think win-lose. I win, you lose. It's not, they don't have to be mutually exclusive of one another. Not only they shouldn't have to be, they shouldn't be. It should always be win-win, right? You should not be ever looking to seek to win a negotiation. Winning a negotiation means that there's something the other person is not getting and they're not happy about. At least my thing. Dude, I love you. I gotta run.
Love you too, bud.
I love talking to you. I really do truly, I thank you for being on here. I really do think that you're one of the best I've ever worked with. You're quirky and you're weird, and your 17-point emails are outrageous, right? Like, truly, truly outrageous. Golfing with you is painful, but I love it. And I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. SMG forever.
What? All right, bud.
Later,
Thanks.
buddy.
Bye.